It was statement day at the Women's World Cup today, the 17th day of this tournament being hosted in India and Sri Lanka. This is the Final Word Daily. Adam Collins and Geoff Lemon, we bring it to you for Lacuna Sports. Focus on your game. Lacuna has your kit covered. Geoff, tell us about Australia's thumping victory over the Bangladesh Tigers in 30 seconds.
We've been looking for positives with Bangladesh. They've been giving positives, and there were some with their batting faster starts. People talked about that. Rubia Haider made 44 at a decent pace. Sabana Mostri made 66 not out and finished off their innings well. 198 wasn't likely to be enough, but it was enough to worry England. It was enough to worry South Africa more or less. It didn't worry Australia. They chased it down in less than half the required overs. Alyssa Healy back-to-back hundreds. They didn't lose a wicket in so doing. Phoebe Litchfield 84 not out. Thumping, something still in it for the Tigers.
Yeah, that's true. Healy, 113 not, 77 balls, back-to-back hundreds, having had to wait 3 years for an Australian century, her seventh in one-day cricket. What a World Cup player Alyssa Healy, the Australian captain, has been over the journey. Phoebe Litchfield, as you say, 84 not out, and yes, they ended up finishing on 202 for naught, just inside halfway, 24.5 overs. So a thumping net run rate improvement, which they already had locked away a semi-final berth, but they're just behind England on that measure. More on the peculiarities of net run rate in a little bit. Bangladesh, yes, were bowled. Well, they got to 198 for 9, and it was Alana King who was actually player of the match with a twofer. Very rare that a twofer would gazump a ton in the in the game of trumps, if you like.
Well, it should. But it should happen. It should happen
18
more.
Top trumps.
Justice
top trumps.
for bowlers.
2 for 18 from 10 with 4 maidens. And look, to be honest, that was the defining passage of the game. It wasn't what Healy and Litchfield did, and we'll get to that in a bit. It's the way that from 73 for 1, I think it was the third ball of the 18th over when they lost their second wicket. Teams that are well-established and confident with where they are in the world are then thinking 250, right? You're thinking 250 is what we're aspiring to get. If they were perhaps 5 more years developed as a cricket team, they'd be thinking 250. But from here, it's like, Christ, we can get 200 here against Australia. And that's when the squeeze came. They couldn't ease the squeeze. That's when King and, well, they all played a role, but Wareham, especially the 2 leg breakers, did not let them off the
Wareham
hook.
later, they did a 1-2. So King sort of finished her day's work and Wareham came in and continued it. Just picked it up.
That's it. It was like one end of complete all-out leg spin. It's like we were watching the South African men from over 100 years ago, leg spin as far as the eye can see. But
well, and Bangladesh have 3. So how many ODIs have you seen with 5 frontline leg spinners in them? Like this was a very happy day for me on that front.
Not many, if any. Not many, if any. There's a throwback to those who listened to the show 10 years ago. You got to go back a long way to get that reference.
But look, yeah, I want to look at, and I know that at times we might, or I might be seeming to be searching for positives with Bangladesh, but there have been positives with Bangladesh and with Pakistan at times through this tournament. And there's a couple of things that you can look at. So the South Africa innings where they made 230, and that was considered to be quite a big deal for them to do that. They did that. So they got blasted by New Zealand. They lost a lot of wickets to seam up front. So then they went fully defensive in the power play against South Africa and managed to get to the halfway mark of the innings, only 1 down. But they'd scored so slowly up the top that they'd left runs out there. And so that was talked about. And then that was addressed in this game where Rubia Haider, look, 44 from 59 balls is not scorching, but it's a lot better than 44 off 95 balls, which is probably what she would have made a few days ago if she'd been batting the way that the top order was batting against South Africa. There was a shift. There was a change. And Sharman Akhtar Supra came in at first drop, only made 19, but was part of a partnership that was important with Rubia Haider going along as well as she was. So, and the fact that it was against Australia and that they're getting to, what were they, 1 for 73 by the time when that partnership came to an end and the second wicket fell. It's not setting the world alight, but it's performing a damn sight better against Australia than you would have expected this team to do, or than they would historically have done. 198 is their biggest ever score against Australia. It's not like this is nothing. And like you say, it could have been 240, and it perhaps should have been, but that middle order subsidence did happen. But the good beginning and the good ending meant that at least they got up around that 200 mark, and that is a score that can win you some games, even if it wasn't this one.
Yeah, the end was a sign of maturity as well, right? They're
Big time.
165 for
Big
9
time.
with 5 overs to go. And I think that, if this Australian team, they would have thought to themselves, well, we're feet up, having a bite to eat in a moment. We're chasing 166 to win. Instead, they kept them out there, and they did pretty well with the farm to strike game at the end as well, with Mostery ended up getting to 66 not out. A couple of drop catches on the road.
The running was exceptional. The running with Fariha Trishna, who's the number 11 and who hasn't been playing consistently throughout this World Cup, she ran like a demon. She had no consideration of running ones. She was running 2 every single time she set off. There was clarity, and you don't always see that with this Bangladesh team. And Sabana Mostery, I think, played a blinder. It was one of the best innings at this World Cup so far, because she didn't attack early. She knew they were in a hole. She took some time, but she accumulated. She didn't sit there and soak up huge numbers of dot balls. And then when the time came to attack, where Darcy Brown came on and suddenly got lashed for 3 boundaries in a row because there was that pace there. Cool, I can use that pace. And then the deeper that she went through the last 10 overs, the more she was losing partners all the way through that last period. And then still managed to keep on building and managed to start finding the boundary a bit more here and there, and ends up with 66 not out off 80 balls. Like, that's a hell of an innings from the position that they were in. That's genuine quality.
Yeah, it was the lot in life of a seamer in India for Darcy Brown, wasn't it? She finishes with none for 52 from 9. I don't know how many of those 52 found their way through the cordon inside.
They dropped a few catches too, Australia.
Yeah, I mean, how many times do you see it, though, in India with balls falling short of slip or ending up in awkward places? And it's not a great place to be a fast bowler historically, right? There's a reason for that. So Darcy Brown, it goes for runs before the spinners come on and do what we mentioned before. Megan Shoup bowled very nicely, created chances. Only 5 overs off the top, but 1 for 11. That's noteworthy from the Australian swing star who's been the mainstay of this attack, and she's found herself out of the Aussie 11 in different formats at different times, but that's the kind of player they want performing in a global tournament at the important stages of it. And yeah, look, I sort of felt like that as that squeeze was happening, there was some great green shoots that you're describing there, but there was some more important signs that there is work to be done. So 3 batters were caught between mid-on and mid-off. To be blunt, that doesn't happen to teams that are more mature, because you're mid-on and you're off the back, aren't they? They're long on and long off at that stage of the game, and you're knocking one down there. What Australia knew was that, well, if we keep them up, decent chance they're going to try and clear it. They don't have the power
to clear them, yeah.
That's kind of my point. Well, better than even money chance that they're going to end up picking out one of our catches, and they did it thrice. So, yeah, it's a bit lucky
and also, 3 times in an innings. If you deny them that single, you're increasing the chance they're going to get desperate.
You're not doing that
likely to scuff that shot.
Yeah, against a more formidable opponent at any stage, those fielders are back at that stage of the game, but they were able to keep them up, and they were the beneficiaries of that. Looks like a hard pitch for Healy to pick up the pace of early on as well, but I did like a couple of the bits of cricket. Beth Mooney, the catch at slip when off Megan Shoup when Healy was up to the stumps. There is, to me, few things so aesthetically pleasing in cricket as an outside edge being taken by first slip when they're stood behind the wicketkeeper up to the pegs. So it wasn't like the most important bit of cricket of the day, but just looked glorious as Mooney pouched that one at slip.
Yeah, there was, and it was a lovely bit of bowling by Shoup as well. Like getting slip catches, like you say, a slip catch in a 50-over game in India. That's
well, she took a couple. It took a really good one, I thought, off Alana King as well. Remembering that King spun pace, one
like seamers. You don't see a lot of seamers slip catches in 50-over cricket in India.
Absolutely true, but I sort of felt it was taking Healy a moment to work out. I guess the pace of the pitch when King came on, and there were a couple of sets of 4 byes, and then she claimed an excellent stumping to get rid of the skipper Jyoti. But yeah, the catch from Beth Mooney to get rid of it was Shorter Actor, wasn't it, who edged one to her there at first slip, and Mooney gets a second one there. So it's and I think Mooney actually might have picked up a third as well. So there were 3 catches behind the wicket, there were 3 catches in front of the wicket, all in that squeeze, which left them at 140 with 10 overs to go. And I kind of looked at the scoreboard. I'm like, oh, Christ, how have they gone from overs 17 to 41 and added about 60 runs? And that's the magic of the Australian attack, having so many options. It's not a case of getting through 1 bowler or 2 bowlers, and we bang on about it all the time with the depth of the batting, but the same applies to their bowling group too. They've just got so many options.
Shorter Actor had the classic day after the big night syndrome where, she'd banged that 50 off 34 balls the other day, hit 3 sixes, set the record, but she'd come in to hit in the last 10 overs. This time she came in the 28th. Yeah, they just ended the 27th over when she came into bat. So there was sort of too much time, and then she had to second guess herself as to how to go about it. So from 50 off 34 balls, she ends up with 7 off 24 today in a rather different way of doing things. And then Annabelle Sutherland at the death as well. Like they've turned her into the death bowler. This is the new sort of option, and she was able to stem the bleeding enough against India that Australia were able to have that huge chase and was able to pick up a couple more today. But yeah, it was interesting that it was only a few days ago, I think, that I was floating the idea. I was like, maybe this Australian team's not as good as we all think they are. Like they rely on Beth Mooney so often to get them out of trouble. And they do. Like historically across the last few years, there have been a lot of games like that. But it's fairly amusing that from that point, Healy's come out and rattled off 200s back to back. I like the thing that she hasn't made 100 since the last World Cup, but in the last World Cup, she made back-to-back hundreds, the semi and the final.
That's right.
And then didn't make one until this World Cup, when she's now made back-to-back hundreds again in a World Cup.
And I think that the innings against India is an all-timer, and today she ends up with 120.
That's her best ever. That's her career best.
And she's just a big game. I think the thing with Healy over time is that she steps up for global tournaments. I was there in the Caribbean in 2018 when she just was untouchable. She was the player of the tournament by the length of the Flemington Straight. You go to the
2020,
the 2020 World Cup. Well, it was March, wasn't it? International Women's Day, famously, in front of a packed MCG with all of that expectation and playing another innings of her life, having to get the job done in those circumstances and doing it so convincingly. The World Cup semi, the World Cup final in New Zealand, the last time they played for this trophy. And now she's done it to secure Australia's biggest successful chase 3 days ago, and today it's their biggest ever none-down chase in a World Cup. Indeed, no one's ever chased 200-plus none-down in a World Cup before successfully. So that gives some flavour as to the run of form she's now in. And I tell you what, Geoff, like the way that Litchfield and Healy came at them, I've got a bit of a thing with like slow bowling. Sometimes the slower you bowl, the more pressure it can create. You often see it at like club level, right? Someone throwing the ball up, it can make batters feel indecisive. I think we've seen it in this tournament, to be blunt, with the way that Bangladesh bowled to England. I said it on the podcast at the time. The slower the ball was getting down there, it felt like England hadn't faced spin bowling that slowly for years, since the days of the pre-professional era, or maybe a couple of World Cup cycles at a minimum. Well, here, when you're on top of a team and the bowling ain't quick, you can impose yourself so quickly. And the way that Phoebe Litchfield walked at them, like genuinely was walking at them before the ball. So she's like, I don't care where you bowl this. I am going to clobber it inside the power play. And that set the tone. And from there, for a time, Healy was kind of in the slipstream. And then, as it is in all great partnerships, they had their moments and had their flourishes. And they end up finishing this job in such a way that they get this massive net run rate boost, which is just what they required to get themselves up with England when they're trying to work out where they'll finish in the top four.
But they also turned the screws early on particular bowlers, right? So you've got like Rabea Khan and you've got Fahima Khatun, who are the two older, more senior leg spinners. Shauna Akhtar's the third one, but, she's a teenager. Those two both got attacked in their first over. Rabea Khan was her first ball. Healy backs away, carves it through the offside. Later in the same over, Litchfield jumps outside leg stump and carts her. So you've got right-hander, left-hander. They're having to switch that up. And on both sides of the ground, she's been cut for 4 through cover through point in her first over. Fahima Khatun comes on her first over, floats one up, and it's, like you say, it's slow spin. And instead of going, I'll look a bit silly if I get out to this, Phoebe Litchfield walks down to it and lifts it over long off for 6. So I don't know if this was a plan per se, but something like South Africa allowed themselves to be put under pressure by Bangladesh by not scoring quickly earlier. So there was still so much of the run chase left to go. Australia were denying the possibility of that happening by making sure that they scored so quickly. And, there were a couple of missed chances. There were catches missed. Healy was dropped at mid-wicket, and there was the stumping off Litchfield that was missed off the seamer off Ritumoni, but those were relatively late in the piece. They even had a wicket fallen there. The tone would already have been set of Bangladesh's main bowlers being put under pressure. I'll come back to the Bangladesh fielding more in the Hall of Fame, though.
Yeah, I was going to do a couple of things in the Hall of Fame. I might do one more thing before we get there and simply say that how England managed to get out of yesterday with no net run rate damage and get that point and go to the top of the table. We joked about it yesterday, Fidel and I, when recording. It's glaring how much of a benefit that proved to be now, because their net run rate is still better than Australia's, despite the fact that Australia have just chased
there's
it down.
no net. If there's no second innings, there's run rate, but there's no net.
Yeah, it's kind of what I mean. Like because they were almost certainly going to lose and have a massive whack to their net run rate, which would have left England in a pretty tough spot. Not to necessarily qualify because of that win against South Africa was so helpful, but my wider point here is that yes, the quirk that Australia, they're the first team to qualify, but England, provided they win comfortably the next time they play. Although noting that England's next game is against India, who are currently in fourth spot. So, and South Africa slotting in third spot, who have got an inferior net run rate to India, who of course have lost 2 games. So there'll be a lot to play for between those two sides, with New Zealand kind of hovering as well. Although, of course, New Zealand missed out on an opportunity to leapfrog India a couple of days ago because they didn't get to complete their game against Sri Lanka. So that's the machinations, if you like, as we make our way towards our Hall of Fame. After Australia, by the way, that's their 13th. 13th, sorry, Hutto, win in a World Cup in a row. 13th World Cup win in a row. I know the men rattled off, like, was it 35 or something, across 3 World Cups a long, long time ago now. But it's a reminder of just how dominant this Australian team are when it matters most. Do you know who else does great work when it matters most? Lacuna Sports.
I do.
Hey, there you go. Of course, their mission is to get women and girls in teamwear that fits, and we want everyone from cricket clubs across the land, across the globe, who want to improve their women's section and girls section to be in touch. lacunasports.co.uk. Tell them we sent you. Find their story on socials.
Let's do it together. Let's say that players, half the potential players in the world can't get stuff that fits them. They can't get stuff that does what they need it to do. And if you were working in the cricket kit business and you're like, I think I'll sell things that only fit half of the potential audience, that doesn't sound like a very good business model.
Not clever business.
And if that's all you can buy, if that's all you can get, well, that's not serving the customer. So come on. If you're at a cricket club, if you've got a women and girls team, put them in the right gear.
And I want to say a nod to Southgate Cricket Club, who I saw on social media last night. Started their women's team. They had an open day for softball cricket in August, I think it was. Scott Ellis, who I play a little bit with, ran that day, not far from our house, actually. And they have now entered the Middlesex Indoor Winter League, and I think they had their first win last night or something like that. So it is proof where the game continues to grow all over the place, and Lacuna Sports is supporting that. You can see it firsthand if you ever go down to...
You can get it custom. You can go and talk to them and tell them about what you want. If you're Southgate Cricket Club and you go, everyone needs to play in a waistcoat in order to live up to the name, well, they'll help you out.
So they've got this little pop-up shop. I say little, it's an excellent shop at the moment. So it's called SOOO, Style of Their Own, and Lacuna have been featured inside of there, where Anakshi from our team went and got kitted out when she was there recently, right in the heart of town there on Regent Street. So yeah, it's like where, this idea of it being a collaborative effort, trying to work with you to make sure you got the right kit. That's what Lacuna is all about. They're also got many different partnerships that they're running, including Bat for a Charts, who are a UK-based cricket charity providing kit to underprivileged players worldwide. Lee Burns, who is the founder of Lacuna, is one of their trustees, and we're going to have Lee on the podcast in a couple of weeks at the end of the tournament. So they're doing a lot of good in the cricketing community. lacunasports.co.uk. We'll be back in just a moment with the Hall of Fame, and we'll wrap things up. It's the Final Word Daily. Lacuna Sports, Adam and Geoff together again on the pod. Geoff, what have you got for me? What's the most final word moment of the day through your eyes?
Oh, it's not a moment. It's all of the moments. So, as I say, we've been looking for the positives. We've been accentuating those when it comes to Bangladesh. And generally, we've talked about their bowling and fielding as the strength, and that's their route to possibly winning games is pressuring teams and cutting off the scoring and all the rest of it. They were fucking terrible today in the field. The worst I've seen from them in years. It's I don't know why. Maybe it's just maybe it's an emotional thing. Like it must be hard to keep on going out there and trying and doing quite well and feeling like, oh shit, we've had another good day. We've had another good innings. Okay. We've batted well. We've finished that off well. Let's get out there. But there were so many, I couldn't count the number of boundaries that went straight through a fielder because they couldn't read the spin, whether it was first bounce or third bounce. Anything that was sliced, the pull shots, the sweeps, the cuts, the square drives, anything with some slice on it was going through somebody on the rope or going through somebody on the way to the rope. It was Sharman Akhtar who went off injured because a drive from Litchfield went through her and injured one of her thumb or one of her fingers on the way through. You had the ball being chopped through the keeper's legs. Normally you've got Jyoti, as we talked about, behind the stumps yelling at everybody when they make fielding mistakes. She wasn't keeping today. Rubia Haider was keeping today and then missed that stumping. Like everything that could screw up in the field, screwed up in the field. I don't know why. I don't know what it was. But there was a point where it became funny. And the point where it was capped off was where, bless her heart, Pinky, obviously everybody loves Pinky, cap number 1 for Bangladesh. Women's ODI cap number 1. Pinky, little, top edge from Healy to short fine leg, looping up. Yeah, it went relatively high, but it was coming down completely vertically. It was as gentle as a catch there can be. Of Shauna Akhtar, the 18-year-old leg spinner who's come on for a bowl, boop, up in the air, Healy's smashing you. Okay, finally you can get rid of her. And I think she just couldn't see it, Pinky, because she just stood in one spot, didn't even take a step, just looked around for a while, and then eventually watched the ball fall in front of her and sort of tried to stick her hand out, but had no idea where it was. And that summed up the day more than anything.
Yeah, well, look, I felt like watching it reminded me. I said yesterday when talking about Pakistan that a decade ago, when watching them, they were clearly in a different part of their development. Now I know that Bangladesh actually shape up quite well against Pakistan and beat them in the last 2 World Cups, but taken as a whole, Bangladesh are further back than Pakistan in where they are in their journey, and the very fact that cap number 1, Pinky, remains in the team is an emblem of that. And it's fielding where you first start detecting the shift happening. Watch the way that Pakistan fielded yesterday. Like absolute tigers, right? And that's what Bangladesh will do at some point. But
and they have done previously in the tournament. Like they've had, they can be better than this. Just today, it went out the window.
It's a pressure thing, right? Because Australia were clouting. What I mentioned before, they were walking at them, they were imposing themselves, and then they double bageled them. As I was trying to,
I think it's an emotional fatigue thing. I reckon when you've been competing and then suddenly you're not competing, it's a punch to the solar plexus. All the air goes out of you.
Is that something we can get? If you chase down a team 0 down and the target's 200 plus, have you double bageled them? 200 plus for 0, bit like like the equivalent of losing a tennis match 6-0.
Wouldn't the target have to be really low to be a double bagel? Because you've got to win the first set.
I like the 2. Like 2-0-0 plus. I don't know. It doesn't quite work. Does
0.
It? Well,
that's 3
Wimbledon,
zeros.
Yeah, the Wimbledon final last year with Anna Samova, where she was done 6-love by.
I reckon I think you have to bowl them out for under 100 and then chase it none down.
And then chase it. Yeah, that's more. That's probably
you've got to dominate both sides of the contest.
And lastly, I'm always tickled by the cricket ground DJ playing "Come On Aussie, Come On," or the version they've got loaded up on.
They've got a version for the women's
when they
team,
win,
don't they? Didn't
it
they?
Seems that way. Yeah,
somebody rewrote it a couple of years ago. With
it's just something about whenever I hear "Come On Aussie, Come On" when they've just won, that gets something. I don't know. It just makes me smile and laugh at the same. I'm like, it's a weird. For some reason, it jars a wee bit. A bit like when I don't know who it was. Was it the first game of the tournament when India won? When they played "Girls Just Want to Have Fun" as soon as they won the game. I don't know why, but it just jarred a little bit. Like it's a throwback. That's what I'm trying to say. These are throwback songs.
But I just remember Ian Terpy Terps doing "Girls Just Want to Have Fun" on The Late Show.
I was going to say on Supermarket Sweep. Do you know I got to introduce Winnie to Supermarket Sweep recently? I kid you not. I don't know how this happens. I suppose when you've got 500 TV channels and all that, right? There was a station playing back-to-back episodes from UK Supermarket Sweep from 1993. You better believe Winnie and I watched 2 of them back-to-back. There was once I got to explain to her the format, she was hooked in. Better that than cartoons, I say.
When
Anyway,
I
we're
think of
drifting.
some of the great filmmakers who I've known and the trials and tribulations they have gone through to get like excellent documentaries, one screening on one channel at one time, and then you're like, somebody's still playing 1993 Supermarket Sweep.
It's on a Saturday morning. Good time for kids to watch telly. Always put the Nescafe in the trolley. It's always worth a lot of money. That's what I remember when Ian Turpie was hosting the show in Australia. This is probably a good sign that we need to wrap up the podcast today. It's brought to you by lacunasports.co.uk. They've got your kit covered for women and girls playing the game or who want to play the game. Go to them. And we will be back tomorrow. Geoff, normally at this point, I tell you who's playing tomorrow, but I haven't got it in front of me. So I'll play for time and tell you that Australia have now, again, guaranteed their berth in the semi-final. It's Sri Lanka. That's right. Sri Lanka are playing South Africa at the Prima Dasa, so back at the very wet Colombo. Let's hope they get on. The next time that Bangladesh play in the tournament, it is also against Sri Lanka. They're playing at Navi Mumbai.
Yeah, it's good. It's good, isn't it, that half the games got moved to a city that's underwater.
Yeah, not ideal.
It's been a real plus.
And Australia get the chance to beat England. They've got a bit of a break now. They're playing it indoor at the Holcar. Love the Holcar Stadium. Indoor cricket. They're playing England on the 22nd. So they've got 6 full days off in the subcontinent. Party time for the Aussie team. Having won
6
today.
6 days off in indoor. That's what we had after that test match finished in 2 days.
True enough. There's the daytime nightclub at indoor where you go down the stairs. It's open from 10 in the morning and it feels like it's 10 o'clock at night. And what happens from there, what happens in the indoor daytime nightclub and indoor stays in the indoor daytime nightclub and indoor. And on that note, we bid you farewell.
See ya.